Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is the New Shoreham Town Council Town Manager Work Session for Monday, November 9th, 2020. New Shoreham Town Council's meeting via telecommunications pursuant to State of Rhode Island Executive Order 2046 dated June 12th, 2020. Zoom access has been advertised on Clerk Base and also on the bulletin board, I believe. Just to remind everyone who might be participating that we do not have the bandwidth to support a video link for members of the general public. Please dial in or watch on YouTube. That link is also available. And for those who are communicating or participating in the meeting via phone line, *6 to mute or unmute, and *9 to raise your hand, and then again lower your hand. And please do mute yourself when you're not speaking, because any noises in the room or on the desk can be picked up, and it is very annoying for the rest of the meeting. Thank you all for joining us this evening. First item on the agenda is an update and a discussion on Shoreline Access Working Group recommendations regarding Andy's Way and Grace's Cove, and an announcement of the Great Salt Pond gift. I will note that as many of you are aware, the items on the agenda, which are listed on Clerk Base, those highlighted in blue and or underlined. If you click on those, you can go to the documents that will be used during the meeting. In this case, the entire Shoreline Access Working Group report was available. So to reference those items we'll be talking about tonight, you nearly had to scroll down to the pages that refer to the two items we'll be talking about, which are going to be Andy's Way and Grace's Cove. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Town Manager Mary Ann Crawford to lead us in the discussion. Mary Ann. You are muted.
We can start with Andy's Way. Mike Shea is off island this evening. So I'm going to go through what I have in front of me here, and I have spoken to some other folks. So the application for Andy's Way did go before the zoning board. The application was approved. It currently is with the Conservation Committee and the Planning Commission, strictly from an advisory perspective. Once that's done, it will then go back to the zoning board for the public hearing. That it's targeted for the February meeting. Once that's approved, we then must submit the application for CRMC. Most likely we'll do that in March, and like anything else with CRMC, it's a posting, it's a comment period. If all goes well and we can stick to this schedule, there's a good possibility we would be able to do start the construction April, May, and get it done before the summer season. I think, though, we may have to delay and wait until after the summer's over, because all you need is one minor hiccup with the schedule that's here, and it will put us in that time frame for these fall. I'd like to remind the council and folks, we did receive a grant from DEM in the amount of $47,000 for this project. There is a matching piece of it, and the match is about 11,000 and change. Hang on. Yep, I can't find it. The match is under $12,000. And also the engineer has been engaged, coastal engineer has been engaged. The agreement has been signed for them to provide a site visits, specification, and finalize everything so we can get this project out to bid. And that's what I have to report on Andy's Way. Grace Cove is also another project that's a high priority. We did not receive a grant with Grace Cove like we did with Andy's Way. So that project, as I understand it, is in a holding pattern and probably will be discussed through this year's budget process.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Does anyone on the council have any questions about either of these projects? Town Councilor Sven Riesem.
Mary Ann, or is there any way to try and get this to zoning in January? I mean, we've literally been talking or drawing or applying. I thought the CRMC paperwork had actually been done, but Is there any way to move it forward a month? I mean, it would be
We can
really nice
try.
to have this done.
At this point, like I said, I can speak with, I'm working with Mark, the building official on this project, because it's going for zoning and stuff. We can talk to Conservation and Planning and see where they are with the advisory. And if they are, maybe we could try to move it to January. That would be nice.
I'd ask for your great effort to do that, obviously appropriately, but we've had this project for so long and we've got funding, and it would be a nice thing to have for the summer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Andy's Way is a place I used to visit years ago. So it's a great little spot. So let's see what we can do. The ducks are all lined up. If we can squeeze a month out of it, it would be great.
And Ken, if I can continue on just for a second, because on the agenda, this has been discussed before, but it's now official, and I'll work with Amy as the treasurer for the Committee for the Great Salt Pond. But I was asked by the board to let the town and town council know that officially there'll be a check coming for $15,000 for this project. A great amount of that was raised by the funds for Jan Emsbo's family. And I'll work with Amy and Marianne as treasurer of the Committee for the Great Salt Pond to get that funds, but it should help get this project done.
Yeah, that's great news, Sven. Thank you. Will that anticipate being that offsetting the matching funds on the town side?
Yes, it is. Matter of fact, I struggled through and found page 7 of the grant app award. It's $11,750 is what is the match that we have to do. The town comes up with.
That's great.
So the 15,000 will more than cover the match, which is great news.
Yeah.
I'll let the town manage funds how they will, but the committee and the members are happy to donate $15,000 towards the project.
Thank you, Sven.
And thank you.
Thank the committee.
Thank the committee. Anyone else on the council have any questions about this project? Either of them? Anyone else have any questions listening in?
Yeah, I just
Martha,
have one question.
Go ahead, Martha.
What's the progress on the sign for Andy's Way?
Anyone have an answer?
Unfortunately, that I don't have an answer for. I can look into that and get back to the council at the next meeting.
Okay, because there was a, I guess this happened before you were here. It came up that Andy's Way is not appropriately marked, and we committed to having, it does belong to the town, contrary to the way it appears down there these days. And we committed to having the appropriate history of the reason it's named Andy's Way memorialized. And I didn't know if that was in part of the grant or if that was in addition to.
Well, what we can do is we can include that in the specification and decide how we want to do that, whether it's a plaque or something else like that. So I will definitely make note of that and speak to the engineer about that.
Yeah, I just want to be sure that doesn't get lost the way it was in the past.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Anyone else? The next item on the agenda is to update and discussion on the National Grid Orsted Cable Burial Project.
All right, I can run with that. Sam Bird is on this evening to join us if you folks have additional questions. But at this point, the project is on scheduled to be completed as originally thought it was. Currently, some of the smaller barge that are in, they will be moved out. A much larger barge will be coming in, and that barge will be stored off the beach area. The barge has housing for staff for up to 21, so that gives you an idea as to how large the barge will be. They plan to start drilling around November 13th, so that's sometime next week. We've already reached out to RIDOT to let them know that we have a lane closure on Corn Neck Road. Corn Neck Road, as you all know, is a state road, so we need to reach out to RIDOT to get permission to close that road. The police department, New Shore Police Department, are aware of the road reclosure, so if necessary, we'll have detail there. The expected completion date of this project is still at this point early May. We don't anticipate any situations at this point that will prevent us from getting it done in early May. As we discussed, we did have some questions and issues raised before the town regarding COVID. We worked very closely, myself and Sam, with Brian Wilson, and he has addressed that with his employees. All employees who are coming to the island are tested before they come here, and their plan has been submitted to Dr. Walcott for his review.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Any questions or concerns? Council? Sven, is he raising your hand?
Yeah, we do have a pretty big city there, Marianne. So it's amazing to watch it as you drive by, and hopefully they'll start working soon, or digging soon.
Digging, yeah.
Any further comments? All right, hearing none, I'll move along. Next item on the agenda is update discussion on Old Harbor dredging.
And I just want to, can I just raise my hand? I just want to thank Mary Ann for her work on that.
Thank you, Andre. I didn't see you, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Dredging,
Mary.
Old Harbor dredging. This project also is moving along pretty much on scheduled with anticipation completion date, depending on the weather, late December, early January. The good news is the Army Corps has agreed to do the dredging. The town's dredging that needs to be done. They have included that in the project. They've also have reached out to the ferry company to see if they want Army Corps also to do some dredging work where the ferries land. So they are looking into that and looking into permitting to see if they can get that done. We greatly appreciate what Army Corps has done, taken on some extra dredging on behalf of the town and also for interstate navigation and the ferry system. So it's really a nice project. It's going extremely well. Kate, Harbor Master Kate, has been in contact with the folks on a continual basis. Sam Bird has also been involved with this project somewhat. And at this point, it looks like by the first of the year, they will be done. So that area will be less congested, I guess, once we get to the first of the year.
We know whether or not the spoils are being monitored by anyone other than the dredge company in terms of their what they're pulling up and where they're putting it off of Crescent Beach.
What is happening is the mud, according, and Kate, help me out if I'm misspeaking here. The mud is going offshore and the sand is going to the beach area. I'm not sure if who's monitoring that at this point. I can look into that.
McConville, do you know?
If I could, the map that was given to town manager clearly depicts where it's sandy and the mud. They're done with the mud. Now they're just dealing with the sand.
Oh, so they're done with the deep water stuff. They're just
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's good. And Kate, maybe you can answer this question too. I know I've been asked a couple times. I think I know the answer, but the high lift boat that's in the middle of the harbor at the moment is part of the Ørsted project. It's not part of the dredging situation.
That is correct, and
That's
that
correct.
should have been already relocated to the work site, but due to a couple hiccups, they are still in the pond, in the harbor. My apologies, and they will be relocating apparently next week, early next week.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that. Any questions from the council or anyone? Sven Reesum?
Yeah, Kate, thanks so much. I know you're still healing, but I understand that Old Harbor has been a little more complex than one thought it was. So thank you for everything you're doing there and the hard work. So thanks.
I would just like to say it started out a little difficult, but everyone's getting along now, and there's a lot of communication going on with everyone, land side, water side, and it's almost daily, but it's all working out really well. And I just want to extend a greater appreciation to the Army Corps for taking on the town bait dock and the town dock. That's huge for us.
Yep.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you for negotiating it.
Very good. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing or seeing none, I'll move along. Next item on the agenda is discuss and act on possible amendment to emergency ordinance 2 of the town of New Shoreham adopted May 27, 2020 as amended pertaining to issues during the COVID-19 pandemic. Anyone like to start a discussion on this? Or have any concerns they want to bring up?
Ken,
Yes, Martha, go ahead.
do we have any further information from the doctor? He seemed very concerned in what was put out yesterday. I think if we've been following the numbers in Rhode Island, we all need to be pretty concerned.
Tom Warkup, Dr. Warkup, you're on it. Do you have any comments in relation to Martha's question?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, please. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. So the state of the situation right now for us is that all of the tests that were run last week on the fire barn Tuesday and Thursday, there has not been a positive that has come from those, which is terrific. That's as of about 5:30 this evening. I've seen almost all of them. I haven't counted them, but I think there might be a few stragglers, but so far everybody has been negative. We have the 3 individuals that I mentioned in a communication over the weekend, and I spoke with the Department of Health nurse that's in charge of our contact tracing, and the school, I'm sure, is updating already, but the 3rd and 4th grade and the 5th and 6th grade classes are quarantined. Siblings of individuals in those classes do not need to quarantine. They're considered a contact of a contact. So if you have somebody in the 6th grade and they have a sibling in the 1st grade, the 1st grader does not need to quarantine. Parents do not need to quarantine. This is according to the DOH as of this afternoon. And they have been notifying and communicating with the school as well as myself. So far, we've been doing pretty well, other than the continued diligence on mask wearing, social distancing when appropriate, and hand hygiene. I spoke with Bill McComb today regarding the Christmas season scenarios, and as well as with Cindy regarding the Thanksgiving Day events. And I think for the plans that we've had, they're very thoughtful. And I think we'll do it in a way that's safely administered for everyone. I don't know, Martha, if you had a particular question, but I'm happy to do a deeper dive if you'd like.
Well, first, it's good to hear those results. And I think we're all kind of on edge because I feel like we're almost back where we were in the spring, and nobody wants to go back there, of course. But I feel like we're not. I don't know what we can do to get this message out that people have got to be responsible, got to take responsibility. And, you know, as we've been saying from the beginning, we're in this together. Nobody's going to come here and save us from the mainland. We have to do this ourselves. And we did a good job in the spring. People out here did a fabulous job in the spring. And I think everybody just got complacent. I mean, heck, I want to be complacent. I want this to just be gone. But I guess it isn't gone yet.
I think the travel in our New England surrounding areas is become higher as well. So the overall exposure has been a little bit more concentrated. The EMS team is, for everyone, is willing to do continued walk-up testing tomorrow between 12 and 12:30. Just be mindful that there's a limitation of how much they can do in a short period of time. And the disaster management team has agreed to allow walk-ups to come in on Thursday. So you have the Crush COVID app appointments, but like similar to last Thursday, they will allow walk-ups to be done. But please be mindful that what the messaging from the DOH is that you do not need to be tested. They don't even recommend it, but if you feel compelled to get tested, they'd like you to wait at least 10 days to get your testing, so that way you would develop appropriate amount of testing material. So just keep that in mind into your decision tree to go get tested. And it doesn't change anything for you that you need to quarantine if you're on that particular list. You can't test out of quarantine. That's something that I want to make sure everybody understands. If you've been quarantined, you cannot test negative out of the quarantine. You have to quarantine even if you have a negative test. So with that rubric in mind, the testing is not necessarily helpful in your scenario.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a demographic that you would not recommend, but you would suggest if you're in a certain demographic, you might want to get tested either tomorrow or Thursday, for whatever reason that might be there? Am I missing something?
That's a good question. Right now, there is no particular recommendation that if you are asymptomatic, the test is not recommended. If you feel like you are symptomatic, please contact us at the medical center, but keep in mind that at that point, if you have a negative rapid, you'll need to be swabbed and you'll have to quarantine. So all roads lead to quarantining. We would be very interested with anybody with any type of upper respiratory illnesses, shortness of breath, coughing, wheezing, etc., to please notify us right away.
Thank you, Tom. Other questions for Dr. Workup, or any questions in general concerning this agenda item? Martha, do you have one?
I don't really have anything right now. I'm just, I think a lot of us are thinking, beyond just the winter, even getting into springtime.
Right. Andre, I have here.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah. So, Doc, I've spoken to you this weekend a lot, and I appreciate all the help you've given me and the community. I mean, the videos are great, like everything, all on board. It's been fantastic. So, in simple terms, if people have had contacts with individuals that have tested positive, what would they need to do right now? Or what are you telling them to do?
Quarantine.
Quarantine.
And the idea that, I know it's a difficult concept, because often in medicine you receive a diagnosis and then you receive a treatment. In this COVID situation, you receive a diagnosis and the treatment is to quarantine unless you are having significant hospital-grade illnesses. So the difficulty for us is that it's the degrees of separation. So of the positive patient, the person standing next to them is a quarantine, not even to be tested. But then if you come in contact with this person, you certainly don't need to be tested. But I think what challenges us is that I'm 2 degrees of separation away from that person, and yet I feel like I've been exposed and I'm potentially at risk. And I can certainly empathize with the anxiety regarding COVID. But if you're in direct contact with somebody where you feel like you've been in contact with them for more than 15 minutes, within 6 feet, without a mask, then your response or your treatment strategy is quarantine. And if you develop symptoms, then please let us know. And if you don't develop symptoms, then you quarantine for the 14 days. And on day 15, you're free to re-enter society in a way that, that you would do normally.
Thank you. Because I know that's been a lot. That's been, when this first came out, I remember one of the first things I had said was, and you said it the other day, was the anxiety in the community, and how do we manage that? And we're still here trying to do that. So I want your words to be, simple and direct to people, because there's just seems to be a disconnect that I'm hearing. Like, people may not, people seem to try to find, and I'm speaking to the community too now, as they try to find their own convenient quarantine. Well, but basically what the doctor is saying is that if you've had contact with anybody that's tested positive, you need to quarantine, which means stay at home for 2 days and remove yourself from public and don't go near other people. And I think it speaks to Martha's, maybe people getting complacent where it's like, well, I got to go to the store. I got to go to work. But back in March and April, we stayed home when we stayed home. And that's what quarantine meant. And that's what quarantine means now. And Chris spoke a lot about a social contract, back in those days. And we're back to that social contract where, if if you've been in contact with anybody that's tested positive, please quarantine. And that means stay out of the store. It means stay out of any store, stay out of the gas station. You're not to go anywhere. And I know that's really tough, but that's what really the doctors telling us, is what the health professionals everywhere are telling us, that masks and quarantine, this is your social contract. And I've said many times, I don't want to be punitive about this and create ordinances that, to rein this in, because I do agree with what Martha says. It's the personal responsibility. But if we have to go there, we're going to have to go there. We've heard that the school's probably not going to open until now, November 30th. I think we have to keep track of all the college kids that are going to be coming home the week before Thanksgiving, because that, if anything seems to go south, then that November 30th is out the window, I would imagine. So I think we got to constantly keep thinking ahead on this, and people that have been around the people that have tested positive, contact tracing from the state. Like, you get a phone call. I've gotten a lot of phone calls from people saying I was around so-and-so here, there, and everywhere, and I never got a call from the state. So again, I'm going to speak to the social contract. If I can have a few more minutes, Ken, I'm sorry, but I just want to get this out because I think it's seriously important that people seriously understand and take this as seriously as we took it in March and April. You need to be honest with them. You need to be honest with the contact tracer. I had my sister's on the mainland. She, had some friends that they were at parties and they had to go get tested positive, and they didn't want to tell people in their community. They were afraid to be, the stigma attached to it. But I'm going to tell you one thing about Block Island. If people are going to know if you tested positive, it's going to take, we're a small community. And if you don't get if people don't get a phone call that have been around these individuals from state contact tracers, we're all still going to know. So the stigma is going to be more if you're not honest with contact tracers, if you come back here and you're just on the road and doing your thing, because it's just the way we have to behave right now. We have to look out for each other. And I think there's another problem with non-essential travel. People coming off. I've heard lots of stories of people going off for the weekends, coming back, and on Monday the kids go to school. It's just, you gotta be careful. And on that, I will stop talking because, like I said, we don't want to pass these ordinances to make people do the right thing. We want people to do the right thing. And that's our community spirit. I think we always do that, but I just think we're all getting a little lazy about it right now, including myself sometimes, but you catch yourself. But with that, I'll let somebody else speak.
Thank you, Andre. Sven Reesom?
Andre, thank you. That was well said, and I think you captured the sentiments, and it is about the social contract. So thanks, Dr. Wardcup. One thing before I mention something else. Roughly, how many people have been tested in the last, 5 days or 6 days? I mean, you mentioned some numbers to me, and I was staggered. So I just wanted to have everybody.
Last week, over a 2-day period, we did over 200 tests at the DMAT and the fire barn with EMS, and then we've done probably nearly 30 additional tests in the office, so probably in the area of 225, 230 tests last week.
Please extend, I'll speak, I hope I can speak for the council, our greatest thanks for everybody with the rescue squad, DMAP, your group, I mean, that's an amazing number of tests and just getting those people through. And I know there's probably going to be a lot more this week. But it's encouraging to know, one, that none of them came back, which is, to Martha's point, phenomenal. But we really appreciate it and thank you. The other thing, and I guess I mentioned this to council, I don't know if it's really a council issue or initiative, or we look to Mary D, or we look to a couple of different sources. But one of my big concerns as we approach the holidays, hearing everything Andre just said, which I agree with, is as people isolate, and I'll speak for my family, as we won't have our kids together for Thanksgiving and probably not Christmas or the holidays, the island is going to be more and more of an isolated place for so many more of our citizens and or seniors. And I don't know whether there's some ways to sort of replicate what the church did with meal delivery, or some way that the community can reach out. And I don't truly believe this is a town council issue as much as a community issue. And I'm hoping that everybody on the council supports the idea of trying to get meals out to some seniors, trying to get ways to just make them feel that there are other people on this island besides themselves in their house. And I'm very personally very aware of, and concerns the wrong word, but aware of the mental health issues. And Dr. Workup, maybe you have some thoughts about it, and maybe people on the council have ideas about how do we help support such a community network and effort.
I certainly don't think that it's going to take grand gestures. I think if we do a series of smaller gestures, I think the turkey dinner that the Old Harbor Church was able to pull off has a cool feature to that. I really do worry about the isolation for individuals. I do worry about the mental health aspect of being isolated and the stressors of the COVID precautions. So I do think if the community could arrange for small gestures like that, I think it would be a terrific idea to try to help people through this time.
Thank you, Sven. Any other comments or concerns anyone wants to bring up on this item?
I just want to say something. I had no idea what you're talking about when you talk about the church dinner. I don't know that you talked about roll call.
Yes, I was talking roll call. Sorry, Martha. I should have called a roll call.
Okay, because that's, I mean, that we've been doing that since 1900. So
I know. No, I should have called a roll call. My bad.
I thought, okay, thanks. I wasn't sure who had done what and what I had missed. Thank you.
You missed dinner because they ran out.
No, I didn't miss the dinner. I meant, I guess that we've been doing it since 1900. So that's just through me. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Any other? Andre, go ahead.
In Sven's vein, I do want to thank the Ladies Auxiliary and the I think it's the Lions, the Leo's Club and the Lions for doing the scarecrows. And I think they're doing something else. I mean, that driving around and seeing the scarecrows, that's something so simple that we could do as a community that people just, it's fun and it's good. And I applaud them for doing that and taking that initiative on. And I think there's other things that people will come up with. I mean, now that my hand's up, I, called on the spot. I'll organize Christmas caroling and Violette's eggnog for the community. Be happy to do that. But
Exactly what we don't need. People
come
going
on,
out
Martha.
drinking.
Come on, Martha. We'll get you out of the house, Martha. But
All completely against what we're supposed to be doing.
fun. But yeah, I agree in that vein that I agree.
Well, just a reminder, if I could remind everyone that's listening that there are certain protocols that should still be followed in terms of workspace and working environments, the monitoring of the temperatures and monitoring of the sickness and illness, and washing hands regularly and limiting your contact with anyone more than a certain number of people. I noticed there's one or two other businesses that are starting to register and when you walk in just to pick something up or whatever, and that's what they should be doing, to keep a contact list. And I remind all the restaurants that they should be doing the same thing. I know several of them are. I don't know if there are any that aren't, but I just would admonish everyone to go by the rules and just make it so that if there is a problem, we can get on it really fast and efficiently and limit it as much as we can. So there's a lot more to it. And and I think as Andre so rightly pointed out, we may have gotten a little relaxed over the course of the summer. We did have a good summer. Most of us had a pretty good summer, relatively. But now it's time to be a little more vigilant and pay more attention and protect ourselves and protect those around us. And maybe we'll get through this in time for the vaccine to help out. So, any other comments on this particular item? We do have one more item on the agenda. Does anyone have anything before we move on?
Ken, I agree 100%. You're right. It's the list, the taking the names down. I think that's important also for businesses when people go in there, just, in case something happens, that is also very important. But as we're talking to the doctor this weekend, Tom, I do appreciate your input. And I think the bottom line is, because I had asked him, I said, how could we have gotten through a whole summer? We didn't hear any positive cases, and we had crowds here, crowds there, and a lot of people were anxious about that. And I think the bottom line was right now, and we're hearing it everywhere else, it's small groups and small enclosed places is what the problem is. So, I mean, small groups and small places are a problem, and we need to be aware of that, and people need to be aware of that. And we only hope for the best.
Thank you, Andre. Next item on the agenda will be to discuss an act on possible amendment to the emergency ordinance 3 of the town of New Shoreham, adopted in June 24th, 2020, masks as amended pertaining to the COVID-19 pandemic. We may have already covered this, I don't know, in the last agenda item, but it's a separate agenda item. And if someone has something they'd like to take up during this item, I'm all ears.
Just vigilance again. I think we just discussed it. I mean, about masks.
Thank you. What?
I think we discussed it. I mean, being vigilant again, everybody sees people around with no masks. I mean, maybe, we briefly touched on, the doctor briefly touched on shopping stroll, but Cindy's here. Is she here?
Yep.
I've gotten a lot of questions about that going on. People are a little anxious about that. And I do know businesses are going to open, and there are going to be people here. So, Cindy, could you pick up on that?
Cindy Lasser.
She's muted.
Where'd she go?
She hung up on us.
Chris Willie.
Our emergency ordinances are supposed to mirror that of the state, aren't they? And the state made changes. So shouldn't we be changing the emergency ordinances to mirror the state? I mean, the two things, or the one thing that comes to mind immediately is the closing time of restaurants and bars, which is 10 and 10:30. I think 10 o'clock during the week, 10:30 on the weekend.
Right.
I mean, my question is, any of the changes should be mirrored in our emergency ordinances, am I right? Wasn't that the road we were going down?
Isn't there a reference to the state supersedes if there's a conflict?
Councilor Marola, can you answer that question for us? Kathy Marola.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay. We tried to accommodate the ebb and flow of the governor's orders by including in the emergency ordinance 2, which was adopted on May 27th, a provision that all persons on Block Island shall fully comply with all federal, state, and local emergency directives and orders, as shall be from time to time amended. So basically, as the governor changes, that ordinance is flexible enough that that changes with it.
So basically, the ordinance, the town ordinance says that everybody has to follow the state ordinances at the time, whatever it is, unless the town ordinance is more restrictive. Correct?
Exactly.
Okay, so that
And the
covers
fines, the fines are enumerated in that ordinance, and they apply to compliance with those state orders as amended.
Chris, does that answer your question?
It does. My second question was related to, I think, DBR and enforcement, and, you know, it's not the summer anymore. They were out pretty much every weekend all summer long. Does anybody know, or anybody in contact with anybody upstate that knows what's going to happen for the winter?
Mary Ann, you,
Hello?
I was just gonna say, I can reach out to DBR and see if they have or anticipate coming out to the island anytime in the near future.
thank you, Mary Ann. 4098. I'm sorry.
Okay. Cindy,
Go ahead, Cindy. Sorry
Ken,
about
or Ken,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Go
Hello?
ahead.
I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, I missed what you were talking about. I think you were talking, did you start talking about the stroll?
Snows,
We didn't after we lost you, but go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So we're, hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Sorry to make you wait. We're doing a very quiet version of the stroll because so many of the shop owners, in talking to them, really want to be open, and they had a good summer, or whatever they had of the summer, they'd like to continue it. And can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, good. I'm sorry. I saw people raising their hands. So it just seems that there's going to be quite a few people on the island between Thanksgiving and just our community that through talking to the store owners, it seems like they're pretty satisfied with just having that group of people that are pretty much already here, shop, keep it sort of quiet. The turkey trot has been canceled. They're not having the further afield event at the Yellow Kitten. Just, sort of a quieter stroll. We on our website and on the app, we have a lot of information as far as if you're not feeling well, please don't come. Masks are required. We mentioned that Dr. Warkoff said that if your state has a 5% positivity rate, please don't come. We'll be here next year. We'd love to have you. And also importantly, that we are ready to cancel at any time if we need to. But Dr. Warkoff did say that, and we have to agree that the businesses did a phenomenal job this summer, and everyone knows what to do and how to keep people safe. So at this point, it seems as though it's just fine to do it.
Cindy, thank you. Are you planning on having, or do you know if that businesses are planning on having kind of like a last minute a briefing, if you will, kind of like before going on a bombing mission or something, but having a briefing where they review what it is they should and shouldn't be doing up to the minute? I mean, some of the regulations changed this week in terms of retail space, but do you know if there's any kind of plan to have a week before meeting saying, look, these are the current regulations and this is what everybody needs to remember to do?
Oh, absolutely. And I did call the Commerce Department about the retail. It's only for the box stores at 30,000 feet and bigger. They just said if you go to any store on the mainland right now, I mean, you wouldn't believe it. People are it's just a mass of people. And they felt, the Commerce Department's point of view was, it's not the little stores. They're privately owned and they're doing a really good job. We also, through Mary Ann and Heidi and Charlene and Molly Fitzpatrick, we have the Take It Outside Rhode Island grant, and we've already distributed over 60 heaters to stores and businesses mostly stores and restaurants that needed a little extra space. And Charlene's been working all day getting the tents in order so we can order those. And it's pretty exciting. And the business owners are ecstatic over it. And so thank you very much to everyone that worked on that. It's exciting. And it's just giving a little extra push to make businesses work this winter, because especially the restaurants, we're very concerned about those because of the
the seating, the lack of seating. So we've been talking to the ferry company. I don't know if they've made a decision yet about running the high speed. I think that was going to happen in the next day or two. So that's sort of where we are with it. But we will, of course, take any advice that you have and go with your recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Sven Reesum, your hand is still up?
Yeah, I am very much in favor of keeping a low key, to use Cindy's words, stroll. I also know that they have canceled the scavenger hunt. As many of you know, you used to be able to go around to different businesses and get stamps. And so they've canceled that. While Cindy talked a lot about the businesses, I actually think that the stroll is good for the people too. I think that seeing lights up, seeing some tents up, feeling a little bit of warmth from the island. I think it's all about, to many people's comments, respect, distancing, masks, numbers of people, cleaning, washing hands, things of that nature. And so I'm very much in support of continuing this stroll. I want to go back to something Chris said a minute ago, because I thought it was really valuable and really helpful. It may be, Marianne, it may be worth for the town or the health center to remind all the business owners and all the restaurant owners and all the bar owners or whatever, that we are on the Rhode Island state rules, and make sure that everybody knows what those rules are, that they may change daily. But I mean, Chris brought up a great point. I'm sure there's some confusion as to, hey, we had all these restrictions that we imposed, what is it? So maybe it would be helpful to all the owners just to clarify what that is and just make sure they know, what the rules are, so that we just eliminate any I didn't know moments. Because I think Chris has, hit a good point.
Thank you, Sven. Cindy, is your hand up again?
No, it isn't. Thank you.
Okay. Bill McComb, are you on?
Yeah, I think Chris brought up a good point, and I think that, I think it is upon everyone to do the right thing, but I also think that the rules shouldn't only be based on if DVR is coming out for enforcement. I think the fact is, the town does have control of liquor license and so forth, and I think businesses should be aware that, if they're not compliant, it's not just DVR, it's also their the licenses that are given from the town that are also to be at jeopardy with that.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, we have, Ken,
Yes, Martha.
we have liquor hearing coming up. That's an opportune time to remind everyone.
Right. Absolutely. It's Andre Boudreau.
Chris, did you have your hand up, or you good?
No, actually, I mean, I did have my hand up, but I'll let you go first because you're probably going to say what I'm going to say about DVR and if there's somebody on island that can do it.
Well, no. What I was going to say, I'll let you take that one. What I was going to say is that, to what Sven had said or Cindy had said about there's going to be people here for Thanksgiving, and businesses. I think like Cindy said, the businesses, they had a good summer, they want to keep it going. I mean, in all honesty, I'm going to try to open my food truck down in town because for the simple reason that I know people will be here, and I know that it be worth it. But I wasn't open all summer, so I kind of need to do it. But in that breath, I'm going to say that I am keeping an eye on rates going, in the state and things going on out here. And I'll pull the plug on that operation at the last minute if I have to. But this just speaks to what I was saying earlier. People need to be vigilant, and, this is what happens. Like, people are starting to get freaked out. There's 4 or 5 cases in almost a week. And, this is what could stop events like this. Whole island, like Sven said, people getting out. I agree with all that. Maybe not during a pandemic, but I agree that the shops will be open and there will be people here, second homeowners and renters and whatnot. So that's why I'm choosing to open. But like I said, I'm monitoring it on a daily basis, and I may be there, I may not be, but that's my reason for doing it. It's not because I had a good summer. I was closed all summer. You kind of need to do it. So at any rate, that's my 2 cents on the subject, and I just hope that everybody plays it safe, as safe as they can.
Thank you, Andre. Chris?
I guess but in mentioning DBRs, I just, we had an incident over the summer where our police force was asked to assist DBR, and they didn't because they weren't trained in whatever you need to be trained in to help DBR. I forget when it was, but I think it was in July. And I know there aren't a lot of places open, and I think everybody's definitely doing the right thing, at least from what I've seen so far. I just don't want to get into that scenario again. The state police on the mainland respond and they just give a report to the DBR. Are we able to do that? I don't think it's going to get less restrictive for a little while. So I just want to be prepared, moving towards the holiday season. And with the very few restaurants that we have open, that everybody's doing, the right thing and help everybody do the right thing. And maybe that's clarity in the rules. And I thought I found value from the DBR in that is they gave clarity to the rules. That was what their value was in my eyes. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Reminder to everyone, if you raise your hand and now you don't want your hand raised anymore, to hit *9, so I don't have to keep looking over at your hand. At this point, something that occurred to me while Chris was speaking was just a shout out back to the medical center and Dr. Warcup. I can't tell you how much we really appreciate the timely information that's been given out through your office and through the medical center, and that it's very helpful to have that information almost immediately, as much as possible, and the information that goes along with it. It isn't just an announcement, a cold announcement. It's an announcement plus information that we need to make decisions and to know what's going on. So I think the entire community really appreciates that, Tom, and I'd like to thank you for doing that. I know it takes some time to put these things together, time out of your regular day, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Other comments or questions? Andre, your hand's up again.
I think Bill was up before me, but if you want to call him, or maybe you didn't put it down. McComb?
No, I had put that down.
Thank you. Andre,
Yeah, just briefly on what Chris said. I'm kind of hoping that we can investigate how to alleviate things like the DBR, because they're not going to come out here in January. They may not need to, but as Chris said, they can be helpful. And I mean, that also goes to, maybe getting people trained on the island to do this kind of overseeing of the operations, if you will. And I think this goes, and this could also be the same story with contact tracing. Like I mentioned it to a few people that maybe we could get someone on the island who's already, in a position where they could get trained by the Department of Health in contact tracing, because I know contact trace, they were trying to hire thousands of them last week. Maybe we could find someone. I mean, it wouldn't be full time, but maybe they could augment this person's salary. But when we need them here, then they'd be activated to do just that, because somebody here knows the island. And I think right now with a lot of the angst is people we are all relying on somebody to test positive, to be honest, with a contact tracer. But if we had someone here, then we could go to that person and say, oh my God, I was with so-and-so. So it would enable the public to have more control over being able to be safe, if you think so. I do want to have that discussion with the town manager and the doctor ongoing, because I think if we could have people here that already have jobs that are in, with discretion and whatnot, that would be a big help to the island. And I don't think it would be an expensive thing, but I just think it would be better for us. It's just something, I think this falls in one of those categories that the state just doesn't see the economy of maybe doing that, sharing roles and this, that, and the other thing. And I don't know how that would work, but I do want to continue that discussion with those involved.
Thank you, Andre. Mary Ann Crawford, I think just a question and then a concern. I think I believe the weekly meetings are still going on with the state, all the state offices.
Right.
Sounds like there's a couple things there that you can maybe bring up in conversations or get some answers to. I know when I was on those in the summer, they were very helpful in terms of after the fact calls and follow-up calls and whatnot. So perhaps you could find out indeed whether or not DBR is willing to come out this winter. We may be a smaller fish to fry than on the mainland, but I think we're still pretty important and we could still use their help. So if you could maybe find out from them what their willingness is to have some sort of a presence out here. If it is needed, hopefully it won't be. But like I said, that'd be a good opportunity to follow up on that.
Will do. I might reach out to the director tomorrow. She's been encouraging folks in local government to reach out to them when they have stuff coming up, so I can do that.
Right. Other comments or questions about this item? All right, hearing none. I don't have anything else on the agenda. Anyone have anything else? Tom, go ahead, Mary Ann.
I do. Sven, you'll be pleased to know I managed to change the date for the zoning during the conversation here. But I did receive an email update. The zoning board will hear Andy's Way on the 27th of January.
You and Jen work wonders.
Damn.
Very good. Thank you, Mary Ann. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Andre. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Chris?
Aye.
Martha? Andre?
Think off the left.
Looking for Martha.
All right, stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you at the meeting on Thursday night, the Liquor Commission meeting. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Ann. Thank you, everybody.
I was muted.